What basketball statistics do you want to know from the 1990s?
Ooh. Who's got the best mascot, in your opinion?
The Denver Nuggets used to have a lion that was quite often, and the gorilla for the Phoenix.
Oh, yeah, that's
But I think
sick.
they were gymnasts, so they knew how to like jump off trampolines and do heaps of spins and that kind of shit.
All
That's
right.
an honest answer.
Yeah, that's a good answer.
You were thinking you were throwing me a curly one, but
Yeah,
it was
what's
right there.
what's a comedy answer?
yeah, exactly. But
Yeah.
you know when you are actually into something that you're like, I don't actually make jokes about it. This is how into it I am.
Yeah,
I will
yeah,
give
yeah.
you sincere
Yeah,
answers.
no, that's-
Let's not be flippant now.
Yeah. Someone will be like, what if Mario would do this? I'm like, well, I think you'd find it would actually go like this.
That's a stupid thing to say. Stupid.
Hey everyone, welcome to another installment of How to Do Everything, the podcast in which I, Tommy Dasilo, a stupid young man, is attempting to learn how to do everything with special guests who are going to teach me what they've learned, what they've always known how to do, and what they feel the stupidest about. Today on the show, Dave Thornton is going to teach me how to completely reject mindfulness. Finally, someone brave enough to say it. I got to let you know, guys, I am in Sydney this weekend doing my show, Main Character, at Arcade Bar. This is the final stop of the tour for now. I'll do some more later in the year, but yeah, this is the end of this little run of shows. So yeah, come on out if you're in Sydney. Would love to see you there. I'll be hanging around afterwards if you want to have a chat or anything. Please come down. Selling pretty well so far, so yeah, it'd be great to get the room nice and full and to meet you folks up there in Sydney. Also, the show is now on Patreon. If you want to support the show, you can do so. Patreon.com/howtodoeverything. You get a bonus mini episode every week. There's a couple up there already with Dilruk Jai Singer and Josh Earl on one of them. Zan Rowe stuck around last week. There's one coming down the pipe with Dave Thornton that we did after this episode as well. It's a great way to support the show and get yourself a little bit of extra content as well. But today on the program, Dave Thornton, my old friend Dave Thornton. You know him. You've seen him on basically every show on Australian TV he's popped up on at some point or another. He was a regular on The Project, Fifi and Dave on Fox FM back in the day. You may have heard him on that. I've known Dave forever, probably like 20 years now or something at this point, and I just always have the best time hanging out with him. So let's get into this episode of How to Do Everything with Dave Thornton.
And then on top of that, you've got the text messages coming through there. Because on FM radio, the producers listen to all the insanity and then just filter it through to you.
Yeah.
But I've talked to guys who work on the ABC where they said you can set it up like this. But a lot of times when they're new, they just go, yeah, let the text come through. And then there's just people going, you fucking idiot. And just, I hate you. Why are you here? Luca Muller, like mates of ours, of ours that started on Triple J. I know that he said the first couple of months it was just people, because people don't like things they're not used to, so they then will just go, I don't like you, and tell you, you're different to the thing I'm used to.
Yeah.
And you'll probably win them over, but it's just, you've got to put up with months. Imagine turning up to a party every day.
Oh, yeah.
And people going, no.
Why are you here?
Why are you here? We were having fun at this dinner party.
There was a guy here an hour ago who was great. Yeah. Can you bring him back? I did. I went on Triple J Breakfast like not long after Luca had started to promote my special and video game that I'd put out, and I got in there and they were like, oh, we'll do this little game with you, and that was fun. I'd rather just do something where you just get to be funny and then at the end go like, hey, check out this thing I did, rather than just answer questions about the thing that's kind of dry to talk about or whatever. And my friend Sonny was listening, and afterwards he was like, mate, what was going on? They didn't ask you any questions about the special. And I'm like, oh, it's fine. And he's like, mate, I was hammering the text line going, ask him about the fucking video game, ask him about his little cartoons. And then I flashed back to like when we were doing the interview, Luke is the one standing behind, like in front of the screen that all the texts are coming through. And when I went back over it in my memory, I'm like, yeah, I did clock him looking a little like, a little sort of, at the texts coming through on the text line. And I meant to message him and say, hey man, that was just my mate for some reason thinking that he was defending my honor, but actually just bullying a host of the show.
I'm helping you out. I said I'd kneecap him if you don't mention the things I want. Isn't it amazing the power of that though? Because I don't want to mention this TV show in that you're always happy to get gigs, but I went on the show and then they shared the reel with you, like the promotional reel. And so I'm getting or you're reading.
All of the comments come through.
You're reading the comments that are coming
Sure.
through. And someone specifically said, I can't stand Dave Thornton. I hate him on this show.
And
I
it
don't
shows
want him on
up the top.
And you're like, cool. And I was about to have a crack back, but I thought, oh, hang on a second. It's on their feed as well.
Yeah,
It's pretty
yeah.
juvenile if I'm then like, I've never been asked to go on again. And there's always that thing of going, hey, did they read it? And be like, oh, fair enough. The people
have spoken. Did this one comment. Fuck, imagine that person realizing that they've got that power and how they would live their life and how everyone would live their life if they knew. I mean, I don't know if you're probably not too tapped into the drama from 5 years ago surrounding the Sonic the Hedgehog movie, but they brought out a trailer for it.
Which one is this? Sonic Hedgehog? The original?
The number one.
Right, because I saw 3 with my kids.
Okay. What'd you think?
There were so many storylines. It was even my kids were like, Dad, there was too much going on.
Yeah,
But what I did like is and we'll get back to your story. This is just as a side note, with that they were dropping bangers from the 2000s, I noticed.
Yep.
Like it was like Chemical Brothers were dropped in and I'm like, oh, you know the age of these kids' parents.
Yeah.
So that I was sitting there
Right.
like getting flashbacks from Ministry of Sound when I was a
and
backpacker.
Even just like Jim carrying it up in there for the first time in like a decade in those movies. I mean, that's a little something for daddy.
Well, that's exactly right. Thank you. And then, even though that sentence sounded a bit porn, thank you for that. But it was funny afterwards because the girl's like, oh, do you even know Sonic the Hedgehog? I'm like, know him. Like, I used to control him. Like,
Yeah. I'm kind of his dad in many ways.
It was frustrating to watch him just do whatever he wants. I usually knew exactly what he was doing.
Normally, if I had my hand off the controller, he'd start looking out at the screen and kind of tapping his watch and giving me the bum's rush.
That's right. That's right.
Do you even know Sonic the Hedgehog? That's great. Your kid's thinking you're some fake fan. Name 3 of his albums. Name 3 of his games. Okay, Sonic 1, Sonic 2, and Sonic 3.
Yeah. A little thing called Mega Drive, mate. How about that?
I don't know if you remember, though, when they announced the first movie and they brought out the first trailer for it, they'd made him look kind of like a real hedgehog.
Okay.
And he looked fucked. He looked like not cartoony at all. And the internet went nuts over it. And then the makers of the film ended up relenting and kind of changing him to how he now looks in line with like the models from the game. And as much as I did think that original version looked horrifying and it was the right move to redesigning, the precedent that it set of, hey, if people crack the shits on the internet, sometimes they will get results and people will listen and you will be able to affect change is like, oh, I don't like this. I don't like what this is showing people.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Especially the creeps that hang out. Like, well, then they said there's some percentage of the people who do react online. There's only like 3% of people who are like on Twitter or X that actually get involved with it all.
Right.
The rest of us are just like voyeuristically going, oh, yeah, fine, whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
I guess.
Yeah.
Well, you've got those 3% that are like, Sonic doesn't look fucking right.
I mean, I thought it, but I didn't comment anywhere. I looked at it and went, I mean, that looks fucked, but I wasn't going to see that movie or I was going to see it for the video games podcast that I do, but not for any kind of like, I expected nothing from it anyway, so I don't care. I'm not going to get on the forums and go fucking bananas over it, but...
No, and... God, it's funny that I now want to watch the original Sonic the Hedgehog because, the third one is the only installation that I have seen. And, mate, I can't stand now, like all those Marvel universes, and I put Sonic the Hedgehog in the same category. We're now, because of the multiverses and shit, it is real easy to write a movie now because you can just go, we'll go to another universe where that guy's alive now. I didn't even know we killed him off.
Yep.
And I reckon the last bunch of those CGI movies, I have gone... guys, you've lost me.
I'm out. I haven't been paying attention for 10 years. And even if I had have been, my memory's not that good. I can't remember back to an Avengers film from fucking 2012 that I'm meant to have seen.
Yeah, and all of them start with origin stories. You're always like, this is sick.
Yeah.
Because they're just like sports movies.
Yeah.
It's like they've been slighted or something's happened and you're like, yeah, you get that person. This is exactly right. By the 12th iteration, they're just inventing multi-plot storylines where you're like,
I know.
I'm more confused walking out of this thing than I was going into it.
So did you, because something that you singled out to me was that you're very good at getting on your kid's level in terms of like being juvenile and being a child. And so do you, I guess, are you the one in the household that's like, you're handling movie duty because you're happy to sit through a bunch of silly bullshit with your children?
Well, I know that you and I, our comedy tastes cross over a lot.
Yep.
We had our formative years of Simpson quotes and things like that.
Yep.
That bonded this friendship. And yes, I will sit there and watch the movies with them. I also have gone through old movies recently of like Ace Ventura and Wayne's World. And Nikki, my partner, has just so disappointed in me. She was like, "Is this funny?" I'm like, "This is the funniest thing that's
You
ever
better
made."
believe it. Yeah.
And I'm like, I also feel slighted that she never knew this part of my life. But I was like, well, I was into these when I was 14, so I get that. But then she's like, I haven't seen you laugh like this at a movie.
I've never seen you this happy. Yeah, the car looks like a big dog and it's going over the ramp.
I don't know what more you want from me. Jesus.
Yeah, it's a classic.
Yeah.
We one night in lockdown, me and Lauren had we'd had some weed butter that we got from someone off Rough Trade.
Okay.
And
Wait, I sound like an old man now. What's Rough Trade?
well, Rough Trade's like I think most suburbs have an equivalent of it, like a Facebook group for your neighborhood where people will be like, hey, I'm getting rid of this like bed frame or whatever. Does anyone want it? And people can be like, oh, do you like, or you can put like, I'm looking for this. Does anyone have it?
Oh, this feels gross because yours sound so much better. Ours is Brunswick Good Karma.
Yeah. It's an equivalent of that. I think it might have been the Northcote equivalent of that.
Yeah, but Rough Trade sounds so much cooler. It's better branding.
Yeah.
Good Karma, even I'm like, ugh.
I don't even know if this is how it's meant to function, but basically Lauren was getting rid of a chair and someone was like, hey, I just made some lemon weed butter. Would you like that in exchange for the chair? We're like, yeah. And then there was like a long
What are we
period.
using money for? This is the best currency ever.
Well, but then you're like, then it just sits in the fridge for a little bit too long where we're going, now, is this a good idea to consume this weed butter that we did just get from a stranger off the internet? You know, like, sure, they're in a Facebook group that's like a neighborhood community thing, but how much trust can you really put in that?
I don't feel I can go to the ombudsman.
Yeah.
Like
It was just kind of staring at us in the face for a long time, and then we had some. It was good, and it was when MIF was on. So the film festival had gone digital that year, so you would like rent the film online and watch it on their website.
Okay.
And we put on this like really intense, like, I can't remember what it was, like Scandinavian film that we got 10 minutes into as the weed butter was really hitting. And I had to turn to Lauren and go, I can't watch this in this state. There's one thing and one thing alone that I could handle watching right now. And if you don't want to put it on, that's fine. But I am going to have to go into another room and watch it because I can't watch this. And she's like, no, that's fine. We can put it on. What's the movie that you're focused on watching? And I said, Ali G Into House. And she's like, oh, well, I've never seen it. And then I'm putting it on and I'm just... similar to what you're saying, the disappointment at how much I was laughing over him getting sucked off by the blind council worker when he's chained to the fence. Just watching someone go, oh, this is who I've chosen. This is who I'm going to spend my life with.
I'm trying to think of another analogy where we've been comedians now for decades, as old as I feel.
Yeah.
Where like you'd like to think we've probably immersed ourselves in comedy more than most.
Yeah.
Yet there's a strange thing about, and whether musicians have this, like you've listened to all the music, but then you just go back to like AC/DC you listened to when you were 12.
That's a good point.
You know, like because we've both gone back to stuff where like your partner would have gone like, but Tommy, you've written all these beautiful shows,
right?
You've used your animation in it. They're very clever. They've got these arcs,
and I know
this
that
guy's getting sucked off.
Yeah, I know that you like highfalutin stuff. Like we've had long discussions about like Nathan Fielder and how he like deconstructs and it's very meta and it's like, yeah, that's all well and good, but Ace Ventura turns around and he talks out of his bottom.
To Tone Loc. I don't know what more you want from this.
No, you're totally right. And it's like, that's the frustrating thing about comedy is like the most base level shit is just the thing that really cuts through. That is the best shit.
I went on a naked gun tear during lockdown and Nikki was the same. Like she got half an hour into the first one and was like, no, thank you. And I'm like, hey, there's two others. There are two others and we will get through them.
Man, so is that like it? So you're sort of, are you at the point where you're starting to slowly be able to kind of filter that stuff through to your kids? I guess it's a challenge where you've got to have the like, okay, now this one, what age did I see it at? What stuff is there in there that's kind of maybe a bit dodgy for a younger audience? Like, I remember seeing the end of Ace Ventura 1 and being like, I don't get it.
Yeah, well, I was the same. Don't you reckon there's all in The Simpsons, the underlying thing of Smithers being attracted to Monty Burns,
Yeah.
I never really got when I was younger.
Right.
And now you look at it and you're like, oh, Jesus.
Well, they've become a lot more overt about it. You know, it used to be this thing where you could give them sort of you could sort of read it a bunch of different ways. It's like, is he closeted or is he just like, he's got this weird sort of like Stockholm syndrome relationship with his boss? I always thought it was so interesting when they were subtle about it. And now literally it's like, here's Smithers at a gay bar. It's well, this is sort of...
We're just talking about multi-plots and going too far. Let's just get back to it, guys.
It's like I got into an argument with a friend about this. Their favourite episode is the episode where Homer starts smoking weed. And I always hated that episode because like the thing of Otto the bus driver, it's like, well, clearly he's a stoner. And then you have this episode where you just see him pulling a bong and it's like, so much funnier when it was kind of, you know, I'm sort of contradicting myself. I'm saying I missed the subtlety of The Simpsons, but then the funniest thing to me categorically is Ali G getting sucked off by a blind council worker while he's chained to a fence.
Mate, I rewatched the opening of Borat, like the first movie.
Oh, yeah.
When he's showing them all around Kazakhstan. And I'm like, I was crying with laughter. And I'm like, this is so crook.
Yeah. So, because I think it's funny how much, like, I'm thinking about this now in my own life, the idea of like having kids in the future and having so many, like, a childish view of the world and so many childish pursuits. And most comedians are like that. Yeah. And it's so interesting when comics are just like blanket, like, no, I never want to have children. Because you're kind of like, yeah, I mean, you're a child. Like that early bit where it's like, that's hard and it's hard to connect. And people talk about like, yeah, when they're teenagers, it's great because now you can have a proper conversation. But it's like, yeah, I almost am more excited to have a little baby that I can connect with on an intellectual level because that's where I've been stuck at for my entire life. This personality would be a waste without a child around.
Oh, totally, man. Like, I love being mucking around. I did realise when they were younger than they are now, because they're 6 and 8, my kids now, like we used to walk along the street, and then I would do stupid things like I'd hide behind a tree or something because you'd be like, try and find Dad. And then, of course, they're just like, you're there. But then I would move around the tree when they were trying to be like, look at this. But then I realised, because they were so small at the time, if you're someone in your house, like they're shorter than the fence. So you're just watching a man on his own because they can't see the kid.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
It's just me going, having a
He's
ball.
Auditioning for that home improvement reboot that's coming out.
Wilson. But like, I mean, the other day we were riding on the bikes and it was funny because a train was coming and so the boom gate comes down. And I was just thinking, like, I had the thought, oh, Jesus, here we go. We've got to wait for this. But then it's funny, the kids, they're like, which way is it going to go? All right, let's, who wants to bet? Like, which way?
Yeah,
and then you're like, oh, yeah. And then they got him, like, to get a train driver to pull the horn. And the kids were going ballistic, like, just giving it the, come on, mate. And then he did it. And I was like, that's made his day. Because it'd be shit boring being a train driver.
Absolutely.
They lost their minds because they were like, we controlled an adult who had a really powerful toy and could, do that.
Yeah.
And I made the
powerful toy.
That's all a train
is. It really is. Yeah, that's a good way of looking at it.
And then I went for lunch with Nikki a couple of weeks ago, and the bike track in Brunswick, it runs along the train line. And we were both riding back from the lunch, and I saw the train, and I gave it that.
Yes.
Gave me nothing, because he was like, well, this guy's a bit short on it.
Yeah. Apply for the job, then you can get in here and do it yourself.
Yeah, you dog. Don't think you're going to get all the gravy and none of the work. And I felt like Nikki went, what are you doing? And I was like, oh, done with don't worry about it. So the kids give you liberty to be an idiot.
Yeah.
But sans kids?
Yeah. I think
he thought, oh, he's ridden this before and had a seat to himself because no one wanted to sit with him.
My little my office at home, I've got all my little bullshit knickknacks in there. Yeah. And I realized the other day, Lauren's nephew, they used to kind of drop in a fair bit and they've stopped. I think because he would come into the house, see these gaming consoles, this fucking Mario Lego, and then just be like, I want that, like really, really turning the screws on his parents. I think they've realized like, This house is too much of a bad influence because there was I think they came around once in maybe mid-lockdown or whatever, and I was in there doing a pod over Zoom, and he was desperate to go into the office, and they're like, no, you can't go in there, he's working, and I just hear him start like smashing on the door and he's going, I want to come into Toby's playroom. And it's like, number one, it's Tommy. And number two, it's an office, mate, not a fucking playroom.
Just a bit of respect, thanks, mate.
Just disrespected on every level. I'm in here trying to watch Ali G get sucked off by a blind council worker.
It's part of the creative process.
It's work. I'm getting inspiration.
Yeah. Well, also, you would have a finer taste in those things as well. So I'd also hazard a guess if they say, I want that. You're like, good luck, mate. I had to work pretty hard and get onto some pretty obscure forums to get that one.
Exactly, yeah. Amazon.co.jp. I had to put the VPN on. I had to get them to ship to a locker in Japan that then ships over here to me. It's not as easy as just going down to Target.
Yeah, you would shit me. I would not bring my kids around to your place. I'm absolutely earning a mozza. I feel like, this is the equivalent of me going to just a cellar that's extremely expensive.
Yeah.
Walking around going, maybe I should drink this wine, babe. And she goes, no.
Yeah.
You can go back to your $12 specials from Liquorland. Thanks,
mate. But then the fear is like a friend of the show, Andrew Levins, who's like really into video games and his kids are really into video games. And it's like, well, that's the dream. But my nightmare is these childish pursuits that I've accrued over my adult life, having a kid who at like 6 is like, Dad, I've got to be honest, I think video games are kind of gay. I've got no interest in playing Mario Kart with you. I'd be like, all right, son, well, it's time for Daddy to go into the garage and hook the hose in through the window and just go permanent nine-eyes.
That's very funny that your child is... There's more serious things afoot, to be honest, Dad. Have you seen the CO2 levels that are now in our air? God damn it, mate!
Dad, look, I'll play Mario Kart with you, but first I need to know, what are your thoughts on Gaza? Where do you stand? No, my kid's too woke to enjoy video games.
Jesus Christ.
Kill me. So you're bigger, because you're big into basketball. This has come up on the show before as a thing that I would love to be more into. I was talking to a previous guest who would, wants to be more into it.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it's weirdly, I think basketball is one of the easiest sports to follow. Like you can get into it, just a match, like not knowing much about it. There's a lot of sport, like NFL is almost impossible to watch without knowing at least a little bit about what's going on. Basketball and soccer are just like, ball go in net. And obviously there's more to it than that, but on like at a just cursory level, you can sort of get swept up in it.
Absolutely. And I've probably friends of the show, if not friends in real life. We've got Josh Earl, Justin Hamilton. There's a real glut of comedians that we will constantly send stuff to, which is probably like what you got with the Mario Kart, where I find men, when they get older, you need something that you're into that kind of isn't... I mean, I guess you found a way to make money out of it. You've got podcasts and things. But it's almost like this is just the thing that I'm into that kind of doesn't connect to anything else. Like I will talk to... Okay, Sam Pang, we will talk for 20 minutes about basketball games.
Yeah.
You good? Yeah, we're good. Okay, cheers, mate.
Yeah.
Enjoy yourself.
Yeah, did you have a period of your life? Because for me with video games, there was a long stretch where I was kind of into it, but I didn't really know that many other people that were into it. Like I just kind of was in this vacuum.
Yeah.
And then now a lot of comedians, it's also like games have, changed in terms of popularity as part of it as well. But like now I've got such a network of people to talk to about it, where I really did have a little period there where I was like, oh, wow, they announced this. That's cool, I guess. Like, did you have any... Was it more since like starting comedy and getting to know those guys that did you always have an output for chatting about basketball or?
Man, I was into it because we very much my age is the Michael Jordan generation. Sure. It was in the 90s and it was one of those first, for the kids out there listening, it was funny that it was the 90s when the Americanization of Australia started coming in. So it was a real like your dad would be like, look at that. Like Yankee bullshit. Like all that
I remember.
US
did you ever go like trick or treating? Because I just see it in American TV shows.
Yeah.
And when I was like 12, me and my friend who lived around the corner, you would either get. I feel like now, and I guess it's probably the same in your area right now. Like, does every house on the street do like Halloween? It's like such a big thing. But when we were kids, you would walk around. You would either get a house that kind of was vaguely familiar, but was like, oh, I guess I've got some lollies in the pantry. You would get someone who literally didn't know what you were talking about, or you would just get the most aggro older guy that was like, this fucking American bullshit making its way in it, like that was so mad at you for bringing this like foreign culture into the country.
Yeah.
It was bizarre.
You're like, guys, I saw E.T. and I thought this was a good idea. Like, I'm not trying to change your culture.
Yeah. Guess what? I'm a 12-year-old. We like lollies.
Yeah.
That's everywhere on earth. The Americans didn't invent that.
And there's a couple of old dudes in a van who are really keen to throw me some lollies. So you shut up, mate. But so there was a real thing about that. But then I felt it's strange that I only know this in hindsight. Basketball made a real effort to be international when I think American football and baseball was a bit like, nah. And because I think they were so popular in America, they didn't decide to go beyond the shores of America. But then basketball really pushed itself. And so in the 90s, we just got heaps of basketball.
Yeah, okay.
And it was almost the only alternative to AFL football when I was growing up. Like, I grew up in Geelong. And so there either... We had a bit of surfing as well because we're near the coast. But it was predominantly just all the dudes played footy. And then basketball kind of turned up and everyone went, oh, we can do something else.
Yeah, okay.
Rather than getting hit all the time.
I guess that's like such an interesting thing to think about, like different age groups and cultural things that they're into and how that ties into, like you say, that mad run of Jordan and the Bulls is such like a overall like cultural thing just outside of the sport, where I wonder if it would have taken hold in the same way were it not for that kind of happening. You know what I mean? Like probably would still be interested in the same way, but a real like larger than life component of it that is able to kind of like absorb you in. Yeah,
here's an interesting point in that Ivan Aristeguieta, Australia's favourite Venezuelan.
Thank you for doing his name in The Voice.
Thank you. I spent 2 weeks with him. We did a run of gigs. And you just can't help but be Ivan at the end of that. Like, he'd say stuff and I'd go, yes. Just, but he really likes it. You know what I mean? He goes, yes, yes.
Yeah. Who are the main ones? It's him and it's Ronnie, where just after a week with them, you've absorbed it.
They're stupid. But Ivan and I...
You should go on a tour with the two of them, spend the same amount of time with both of them and see which one wins. See which one's got the more dominant gene.
Or it becomes a fusion.
Oh, yes.
This is it. This is stupid. I tried then. I almost broke my brain.
Ivan Chang. Yeah, I like that a lot.
I do love your bunnings, but it is stupid. But
dick to mouth. Wow, this is real inside baseball.
Yeah, there really is. Yeah. But Ivan and I are pretty much the same age. I think there's only a couple of months between us. But then he, in Venezuela, had NBA basketball.
Sure.
Because he started getting back into it, and we realised when we were on the tour, like we were like, oh yeah, remember watching that in the 90s and that player and this guy. And so we had the same touchstones. I'm a kid from Australia. He's from Venezuela.
Yeah.
And we had the same touchstones growing up as teenagers. So it kind of proves to you the breadth of what NBA basketball was trying to do then and just pushing everything out. And so I was really into it in my teen years and I played in all the comps and did all the things. And then in the 20s, like traveled and wasn't... Because, I mean, again, you sound like an old man. The internet wasn't everywhere.
Yeah, you couldn't catch up on your VPN and your KO subscription when you're in... Portugal or whatever.
Well, I remember, actually, I was in Turkey, I remember, this would have been 2002, 2003, around then, and a guy was checking the AFL scores on a website at an internet cafe.
Right.
And I was like, really? And because I also thought, I mean, I didn't mind AFL, but I'm more like, I just realised, when you travel, you kind of have to forget about home. Like, there's only so much you can get through.
That's the point.
Yeah. But he was like, no, I'm on this. And he's like, yeah, I'm just catching up. And back then it was just a website. It wasn't updating. It wasn't scrolling. Yeah. It was just, maybe he looked up a newspaper, I don't know, website and went like, okay, they were the scores from the weekend. And I was like, oh, that's amazing. So I really just then forgot about basketball more, that I was just probably doing all the alcohol and drugs. But then, and then it was in my 30s, I got back into it. As I was doing stand-up too, I just wanted something that wasn't that. Because as we know, those first 10 years of doing stand-up, it is almost everything.
Yeah.
It is everything about your life. You're gigging so much, you're doing it all, which is great. But you also go, yeah, but this is a lot.
You want a pursuit that at no point you're going to be like, maybe I could do a show about this. You're just it's a separate, it's real church and state.
Yeah. But then I realised anytime... I've never ever reached a point where people stop you on the street like, I need to get a photo, but I'm just saying that it would only be in a game where there would be an absolute blowout and we're getting our asses kicked, that a guy's like, are you that comedian? because they want to tell their mates that they
Yeah.
absolutely destroyed you. But
Yeah.
if you were winning, they're like, I'm not going to acknowledge that I might know who you are.
Yeah.
Because this is going to dent my ego even more.
Yeah, yeah. So have your kids shown any interest in basketball? Would your dream be that they can, get up at 4 a.m. or whatever time you have to watch the games with the time difference to sit down with dad, big foam dome on, big fucking foam hand.
I like it that you've got
I don't know.
as binge drinkers.
Yeah.
We're tapping a beer, Dad. Okay, well, if your mum says it's cool, whatever.
I guess you are right. What do I know? Kids are, it's all different from when I was a kid.
Thanks for getting the hot dogs, guys. That was really nice of you. This is a lot of
Vegan as well. Very nice.
fun. Yeah, we are in Brunswick. But, mate, it's funny you say that because, again, my kids are 6 and 8. And they're at an age, especially the oldest one, where I think there's a bit more autonomy on, like she's figuring out what she does want to do and not. We've never pushed them into anything. In that, I also think organised sports at a ridiculously young age is insane.
Yeah.
Those parents are like, they're 4 and they're going to Auskick. You're like, do they want to go to Auskick? Like, this is really weird. And so my partner can speak German, and because her mum's German, and she lived over there, and she really wanted that to be a culture for the kids. And so they were learning German, and only recently has there been, because it happens on a Saturday morning, where she goes, I don't think they're into it, and I think we're going to stop.
Right.
And I have tried to be like, Saturday mornings are when the basketball games are getting played. So it is a real clash of cultures where it hasn't happened before, where people have been up against the Germans. But it's a huge shift in our family to go from, you're going to learn German on a Saturday morning, and I can see the point of another language, and it is beneficial. But I was always like, studying on a 6th day of the year, like you're at school for 5 days.
Right.
And then you're deciding on a 6th one to study as well.
Oh, my best friend growing up was Greek, and he had to go to Greek school on the weekend. And I just could never get my head around it. I was like, what the fuck happens in there? What do you do? And he, he hated it. When you're a kid, you're just living for those 2 days, the weekend,
100%.
More school. Are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah, and so I felt really bad for it. But on both sides, I can see it's beneficial, but I felt really bad because my partner really wanted that to be a part of their lives. But now, and the oldest is whispering to me like, Dad, I do, like my mates are playing basketball. And I haven't, who's to say? I've got basketballs all over the house, and I watch it a lot, and I wear basketball jerseys, and I will talk about it ad nauseum. So it's not as if...
In your sleep, you're muttering, Daddy loves basketball.
I've never been more attracted to your mother since you wore that Chicago Bulls jersey. And so, but I've never been like, you need to do this. I've never said that to them, and I don't mind either way. But for her to come to me and be like, Dad, I want to play. I'm like, right, what do you know about the triangle offense? We can do this.
Well, hey, it's 2025, and I'm sure kids these days, there's a big thing of not being pushed into the box of these traditional pursuits of, what society would dictate that your gender should be into. And so what better way to rebel against the binary nature of gender than being a girl that is really into basketball?
I know.
That's helpful for you.
Yeah. And so it's a very interesting time for us to be like, is this going to happen? If so, how involved am I going to be? Because also I am on tour a lot, so I don't have the consistency of constantly turning up. But then I'd like to...
That's great. Talking her out of doing German so that you can watch basketball with her and play basketball, and then you're not even there for 48 Saturdays out of the year. I'm
glad you're taking this like this, because this is what Nikki's about, where she goes, well, hang on a second, you're not around. You won't be around. But I'm like, FaceTime me. I want to watch it. And she's like, so I get to drive him around everywhere, and I'm not into it. But I would want to be.
There's this image of your daughter there, basketball under the arm. You've just driven off. She's like, oh, poor little Fraulein. Thinking about the future that could have been. That's awesome.
So we're in it right now.
Yeah.
But there's no shortage. In true American way, they have 7-game series they're on right now. There's no shortage of basketball that you want to watch.
Yeah.
Almost to the point where I'm like, I've had enough here.
That's what's attractive about it, and it's now I think ESPN is on Disney Plus, or maybe it's been there for a while, but I hadn't noticed until last night. I was looking for something to watch on there, and the top big banner thing of here's the new shows, here's the new movie that's just come on. Every second one was for a different basketball game. I was flicking through, and Lauren was like, Are you on the wrong thing? I was like, no, I guess there's just now Disney Plus has basketball games that are on it every hour of the day, seemingly.
Yeah, there's a lot of games getting played right now. But I mean, mate, I will acknowledge that I'm too into it. Like I look up statistics of retired players.
See, I've got this with certain things, like with a lot of like old video game history stuff, and I really related to you saying that something will pop into your head where you're like, yeah, I should go back and look that fact up, and like I do the exact same thing, and then I get really annoyed at myself because I'm like, this is time and brain energy that I could be using to learn, to bone up. I've got all these things where I'm like, oh, I wish I knew more about this. I wish I knew how to do this. It's the whole point of the show.
Yes.
But instead I'm like, no, you know what I need to do for the 15th time this year is get onto the Wikipedia page for the DuckTales game on the Nintendo Entertainment System and just kind of see if there's any facts about the development of it that I've missed, or maybe they've uncovered some new little tidbit or a lost build of it. And it's like, you just get trapped in this cycle of just looking up stuff that you already know. It's so dumb.
Yeah, stuff I already know. You're right. Like, retired players, I'm like, no, what was their 92 season like? And then I do look it up and go, oh, yeah, that makes sense. They made the All-Star game. Yeah,
yep,
right.
thought so.
Yeah.
So satisfying.
Well, I think the greater world knows about this because it was so huge, is that Luka Doncic, when he got traded to the LA Lakers, like it was actual news. I remember like Australian news was reporting on this because it was an insane trade. This guy's like young, one of the best players in the league, and he just got traded for nothing. And I'm calling mates like it was a national emergency.
That was one that really broke through. That was really exciting even as someone who doesn't follow it. Like the insanity of that story.
Yes.
Like really just it kind of, you could look at it from the outside and it's like, right, I totally get it. Like the context is all there.
Yeah, but it was, it was like we're into maths. Like we were going, you know what I mean? Oh my God, who would have thought, why would they do that? Did you read that conspiracy theory?
Yeah.
Like, I was talking to so many mates about the fact that the owners want to move it to Vegas and so they want to tank the team and like there's all this stuff on the internet that I was deep diving in.
Yeah. I mean, that's why, like, you know, I've got, like, Lauren's gotten me into, like, a bit of reality TV stuff. And I think it's interesting, like, you know, you saying about, like, basketball and stuff. I think, like, early on in a relationship, it's so interesting where there's a bit of this, like, there's kind of like a trade arrangement of, like, here's some stuff, you know, here's our mutual stuff that we're into. Here's a bit of stuff that I'm into. Maybe, you know, you'll end up getting into that a little bit. And sometimes it works, but then over time it's like, no, I'm drawing a hard line here. I'm sorry, I've got no interest. That's your thing that you do by yourself.
Yeah.
And like, I've absorbed a little bit of like reality TV stuff from Lauren, and you know, people look down their nose at that stuff. But exactly what you're saying, it's like all of the drama that's in that's why it connects with people, because it's like, it's transferable through to everything. Like it is just a blanket like formula that exists in sport, that exists in real life, that exists in politics, that just like, Real Housewives is just it at its like most pure and primal form. So you're saying like the Luka trade stuff, it's like, it's all the blank, all of the stuff is there. Like it's all just laid out.
Yeah, and I find a really interesting case study was that Drive to Survive, the F1 behind the scenes. And I didn't get into it, but it's funny that they said it predominantly had more female viewers. And it stands to reason because all the drivers are prima donnas.
Yeah.
They're all people that go, yeah, I should be paid $40 million to drive around this track.
Yeah.
They're usually just focused on the thing that they've got. So, of course, if they feel slighted in any way, they're going to throw their toys out of the cot.
Yes.
It's highly competitive. Guys can be on the same team, but yet be like, no, I'm going to run that guy over because I want him out. And so you're like, yeah, all the emotion and the stories of this are so heightened.
Yeah.
That, of course,
that if you watch it and you're
sport.
into it, it's, you know, that kind of stuff and you read about it. But if you're an outside observer, you do have to kind of do the digging. So a show like that just kind of puts all that front and center.
Puts it all front and center. And you realize, like, oh yeah, this could just be the Real Housewives of Macau.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. And they're like, oh yeah. And that's when I realized, oh yeah, this is all storylines and drama. And sport is all storylines and drama. It's just that it's happening in front of you or happening live.
Yeah.
And so that's what it's all after. But
yeah, getting on the phone about the trade arrangement and just, that was a day where I was like, I got it, but I was jealous that I wasn't more into it because I was like, God, I bet this just feels unbelievable.
Man, that one was because it was a Sunday because I was sitting there just scrolling a little bit and I thought, oh, this is a stupid post that someone's put up. That isn't real. And then when it happened, it was like I was the general manager of the team. I'm calling mates, being like, did you just hear about this?
Yeah.
And some of them I'm breaking the news to. Some of them are like, oh no, man, I just don't know what to do with myself. These are men in their 40s with
That's
families.
That's got to have felt good being the newsbreaker. That's got to have felt fucking great.
Have you looked at this? Have you seen what it is?
Yeah. You just reminded me before when you were talking about it. I had this friend who would do this thing where if you were, because again, someone just asks you, an innocent question about like, oh, I heard during the week there was this like basketball thing. And then you just activate like the Manchurian Candidate. You just go on a tear. And he would do this thing to you if you were being too drawn out and sort of like losing him. This is so like rude, but he would just start going, just do the white noise sound of just like letting you know, mate, I've tuned out. You've lost me. And it like, fuck, you'd be on a run and you'd just see that look come across his face and you'd think like, fuck, I'm bombing here. He tricked me. He asked me a question, making me think he was interested.
But then...
but he actually doesn't care. He wanted me to sum it up in one sentence.
Do you get that, though, with stand-up? Because people... And I think when people, they're trying to be very nice and they go, oh, like, what stand-up are you into? And that stuff. And I have to pause to be like, how hard do I go here?
Oh, yeah. The big one at the moment is like, how was the festival? 4 hours later, it's like, wow, now I know all this stuff about... everyone who works in the office at the comedy festival. They're like, I just wanted to like pretty good. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, not a breakdown of how it was going. The weather was affecting
the politics.
It was a long hot summer, which means people want to be outside. They don't want to be inside, really, do they? Oh, okay.
Wow, this guy who ran Junkyard sounds like a bit of a prick.
Yeah.
Don't know why that had to factor in, but
I mean, I do those cruises where they go for 3 nights, sit down, run them. That's the limit of what I can be on the high seas for.
Yep.
I can't do any longer than that. But they have this Q&A thing. After you've done some shows, they do this sit-down Q&A, and it can go either way. The last one I did was quite nice. But when people say, oh, what was what's your comedy influences? And again, I've got to sit there and be like, can I just give you the most rudimentary ones? And they're a bit of an older audience, so you tend to be like, oh, I watch Billy Connolly, and everyone gets a round of applause, and you move on.
Yep.
But you're like, or do I just say... hey, you don't know how much I've gotten into this. And I can mention some really obscure comedians.
Yeah. That's the big one, isn't it? When people are like, who do you like? And you're like, not to be rude, but you won't fucking know.
And you can get really into the weeds about it.
Yeah.
And also, I mean, you'd be the same. There are genres of stand-up comedians. We are fully cognizant about that.
Yeah.
From someone being completely abstract and clowning to someone being acerbic and political and everything in between. And then you're going, do I break this down to you? Because as far as you're concerned, they're funny or they're not.
Yeah.
Which is what the layman thinks.
Yeah.
And that's fine.
Yeah.
But then you're like, do you really want me to get into the fact that in this genre, I find that person the best at what they do?
Anyway, can we wrap this Q&A up? I got to get into my cabin and do some heavy drinking.
Yeah, mate. In that circumstance, you're like, what are we doing here?
Yeah, I'm feeling a bit seasick, and the only cure for that is a delicious cold crownie.
Yeah, because I've got the lanyard around my neck, which gets me to buy anything, and I'm wearing it with pride, guys.
Yep.
Cool.
I'm a lanyard guy, so sue me.
Fucking lanyards. They can go fuck themselves in any way, shape or form.
Yeah, seeing someone with a lanyard where they're just in a venue that like they basically live there, it's like, who's this for? Who's denying you entrance to your own building?
I know. It's a real strange...
If it's got a fob on it, if it's got a thing that is a necessary thing to open a door,
you can understand that.
But when it's just their ID and they're just sitting at the desk, it's like, what's this for?
I know. It's like the marathon bib of corporate offices.
It really is.
It's like, I'm running the gun. I just want to let you know that. I just want to let you know I'm into this. I'm right into it. Like, yeah, sick, man. Good on you.
Yeah, I'm running from something.
Yeah.
We're all wearing some form of marathon bib in our lives.
Yeah. Running towards, away from, through.
So I found it interesting because, I ask people the same questions, and you're probably... I would think of you as a very together person. Like, you know how to do a lot. You're very, like, organized. You're very, like, skilled at a lot of things.
Yeah, but can I stop you there?
No, it's my show.
I say this because I just caught up with my older housemates last weekend. And it's funny that it's relative. I think I'm very... organised for comedians.
Oh, sure.
Like in the comedian aspect, I think people look at me like, look at this guy, pays his taxes and stuff. Like, it's incredible.
Yeah.
And then I catch up with my old mates, and my old housemate just said something so funny where he said, mate, I know the person you want to be, but I know the person you are. and I was like there, even though his now wife, who I lived with as well, is younger than me, I was like their incompetent son.
Sure.
Like I was the one that they were like,
Sure.
will he ever get it together?
Yeah.
And so it's very weird. In the general public, I think I'm just getting through. But in
Right.
comedians...
Oh, you're like, yeah, you're a genius.
Like
Yeah.
I'm the only one that doesn't have ADHD. I'm the only one. I'm the rarest of unicorns.
You pretty are, yeah. So like, but yeah, I would think of you that way. But
Oh,
you're
thanks, mate.
the person who you've probably given the most thorough answers.
Oh, really?
To the categories of things that you're bad at and don't know how to do, which completely contradicts how I would kind of view you. So you talked about, and this is kind of what I was getting at before, in the thing of like partners introducing to things. So your partner's very into like mindfulness and meditation and all that kind of stuff.
Yes.
And you've tried to absorb some of that, but had to, because that's, I mean, in terms of all the things that your partner can be into that you get together with and you're like, maybe this will be my new life. That's probably, about like the most positive version of it. You know what I mean? Like this will make me a better person if I can learn to meditate and do all this kind of stuff.
Tommy, it is like running stories that have now been on rotation so much. She rolls her eyes when I bring it up at dinner party or something.
Yeah.
She's like, oh, he's running this one out again.
You got to gather around the Bluetooth speaker to listen to this episode. You'll love this. Guess what's getting an airing publicly?
Because she even admits, she says to me that, and I am interested in that area, but I think as I've gotten older, what I've learned is that there's certain things in life you can just dive into, but I don't have enough time to really dive into everything.
Sure.
And so there's some things that I just go, well, that's as much as I can give to it.
Well, there also are a lot of things, and meditation and mindfulness is a big one where it's really put forward as like, you have to do this. Your life will suffer if you don't do, you know what I mean? It's not just like, it's a pursuit that might help you in some way.
Yeah.
It is seen as being so beneficial in so many ways that there's this feeling of like, if you're not doing it every day and if you're not doing it properly, you are only living half a life. And with all that stuff, with anything, it's okay to just be like, no, I've got my own thing that helps me.
Yeah. And like I'm kind of hippie adjacent. Like I do believe in those things.
Yeah.
I don't like a lot of the lexicon around it. You know what I mean? Like spirituality, like, I think it's just trying to be a good person and be, happy within what you are and taking space to probably be present and all those things. But then... I mean, Nikki did say when we started dating, she goes, I was kind of testing you because I lived on the south side of Melbourne and people know about that. And she lived on the north side and she was a bit like, I don't know if this guy's fully there. And one of the first things we went to was a Friday.
Fully there in what sense?
Like, I think she just, maybe she just thought I was just some capitalist pig in a trough just trying to get through.
Yeah.
Like this idea, on the south side that you're just a vapid human being.
Cut to then, however many years later, and you're proudly showing your kids Ace Ventura 2 When Nature Calls, and she's like, I was right. I was right. Never cross the river. It's true what they say.
This is for me twice. It's on me now. I remember she said it was a Friday night and she said, oh, I'll surprise you with this date. I said, yeah, no worries. And it was weird because I did turn up in chinos and like not a shirt, but like a denim shirt because I was a bit like I was a date, I guess.
Yeah.
And we go to this thing and it's this, when I say a dance party, it's like there's a church on the corner of Alexander and Nicholson but it's rented out as a hall. And it was this DJ was playing in this hall.
Oh, yeah.
But we get there and it's still daylight. It was a real one where you turn up and everyone's in Thai fisherman pants.
Yeah.
And like they're real beatniks. Like they've gone to Rainbow and they haven't come back.
Yep.
And they're all there. And I've turned up like a narc. Like I'm in this outfit.
Chinos, fedora.
Hey guys, does anyone know where I get that marijuana from?
You guys seen Napoleon Dynamite?
And so we get there and it was a really good DJ, but it was a thing. And I remembered going, fuck, I feel so out of place here. Like I could not be. But she's like, it's a real mindfulness thing. You got to dance and be in this moment. And I'm like, holy shit. And I'm like, okay, like I'll test this out. And I went over to say something to her because I had to undercut the situation and be like, oh, look at that goose over there.
Yep.
And the DJ's like, there's no talking, mate. I'm like, I just got to stand there.
Wow.
And there wasn't enough people to be like, it was, like I said, it was still daylight.
The DJ doing crowd work to you is great.
Fucking
Where'd you
hell.
learn to whisper, mate? A helicopter?
Yeah, it was like that. I was like, what is going on here? And I did 15 minutes and then I just went, I can't do this. Like, I cannot do it. And I stormed out. And I think the people who were there were like, yeah, we weeded him out.
Yeah.
But then Nikki went, she said in hindsight, she goes, that was a lot. And I was like, that was a fucking lot. Like, you had to mindfully dance while there was still sunlight through. No alcohol in our system. Nothing else in there. I'm dressed up like because I thought it was a date.
Yeah.
But I'm like, oh, this is...
I love that as like a litmus. It's actually such a good move, anyone listening who's single, because I do think that like most people have this thing of like, I got to really keep my true personality kind of under wraps here. You know, I got to be on my best behavior early date. I love the idea of just like throw them into the deep end, take them to the absolute extreme of what you're into, because it's like, hey, that's going to start filtering out over time anyway.
This is what it is. And then I remember she tried me again at a similar thing, but yoga. And I called it jailhouse yoga after I'd been there because I hadn't done yoga before, but I should be doing this.
Yeah.
But as we mentioned, I play a lot of basketball. Like at the time, I do more stretches now, but I wasn't then. And it's just your body's stiff as a board. And I turn up to this thing and it was an advanced class. And I'm thinking, but it's yoga. Like these guys are namaste. They're a bit open-minded. I'm doing it and I'm fucking it for everyone because I'm like, what? And the teacher's like, just do, and he'd say the move.
Yeah.
And I'm like, huh? And then he cracked it. Like he went, you've never done yoga before. And I was like, nah, man.
No.
And he goes, this is an advanced class. And then I'm like, she brought me. Like I'm blaming it on her. and then I had to go. Like I had to leave because I just went, well, I am kind of screwing it up for people. And Nikki finished her class and I waited and kind of looked a bit sheepish afterwards. She's like, oh, and she understood that I'd given her a shot and she shouldn't have taken me.
How you guys have ended up together this long with 2 children when 2 of your early dates now you're storming out of after 10 minutes.
Mate,
this is a love for the ages.
This isn't the only one. And now that I've said it out loud, I've realised...
you really made her work for it. What can I ask? So she's calling the shots with these dates. She's like, hey, I'm going to really throw you into my world.
Yeah.
The ones that you're planning. What are you rolling out?
Oh, mate, I mean...
The pub.
Even after that dance thing, I was like, hey, there's a really nice sushi joint up here. That's really nice with good sake and wine.
There's this guy, Gab Rossi. He's on at the Comics Lounge this Saturday.
And so, I just am up for like drinking nice wine and going to a nice restaurant, which he is also up for. But I was like, I just like to do this like predominantly.
Yeah. She's treating this like she's on one of those, like she's on The Bachelor where, it's like you can't just sit there and, it's not good TV to just sit there and have a conversation. You've got to be in a hot air balloon or like picking strawberries or something. Yeah. She really is thinking about, now, how's this going to look on the screen? How's this going to fly as an anecdote on a podcast in 15 years' time?
You do, you realise, she's like a TV producer, isn't she? Yeah, you're right. Now let's look at the leaderboard. I didn't know there was one.
What? I've been voted out. What? There was a text line? Where?
What the hell? And so, but I was trying meditation and doing those things because, as we were even touching on earlier, like stand-up can be so all-encompassing that you're like, I need to have some control over my brain or find out there is no control, but at least try and settle it down. And so I did try and implement those things in our lives. I think, and I've since learned this, Nikki's temperament is really just, you're giving it a shot? Well, just go all in and see what happens. Yeah. When I'm much more of a... she'll dive into the pool. I'm like putting the toe in going, that's not bad. Yeah, we'll get there. And I'll slowly immerse myself. Yep. And then the big one, which I did, we talked about this only a couple of nights ago because I told the kids about this and I'm laughing and Nikki's like, you're an idiot. And we went to this, again, it was another meditation thing. And she's like, it's in Fitzroy and it's a singing meditation. I said, I don't think I'm doing a singing meditation. And she goes, look, I don't think it's like, is it full singing? And I was like, what? And then she goes, come on, let's just give it a shot. I said, okay. We get there. And it's not singing like a choir. It is sitting in a room and they turn the lights off and then you all sit there going, and try and... And there is no, also, like, you're not chanting to a rhythm. You are just going, someone starts, well, the person who runs the class starts, and everyone, you can just do, like, you could, like, bebop or whatever if you want. You could be going, bap, 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 bap. It would throw everyone off, but you could do it if you wanted. Yeah. And I'm like a couple of minutes in this thing thinking, I really hate this one. Like the other ones were a bit weird. And the yoga was like, well, I could do a novice's class or a beginner's class.
But you're thinking like, I can't break my own personal record of storming out of the date. I have to last at least 10 minutes. Yeah. Before I'm out the door.
But this one I was like, and maybe we had gotten to know each other a bit more now. And I was like, oh, it's another one of her wacky ideas. And I'm like, I actually can't do this one. Like this one sucks. But I felt because everyone's not moving a muscle, they're doing that chanting or singing, whatever it is. And I'm a bit like, I don't want to stop and be going, hey guys, sorry to interrupt. I hate this. Like, I'm out. And so it was a thing where, man, I just started realizing I can just sneak out. Like, everyone's got their eyes closed.
Yeah.
There was kind of candles on, but it was very darkly lit. But it was in this pretty big hall. So it was
You're like runaway bride, but at the start of the relationship.
And mate, it was one of the most exciting things I'd done because I'm like, if I can sneak out and they just don't know.
Yeah.
Like before the dancing thing, I'd kind of just left it in a bit of a huff.
Yeah.
The yoga thing, I wasn't equipped for it. This one, I'm like, if I can just sneak out. And so I get up and I'm like, no one's opening their eyes. No one knows I'm doing this. And there's a weird thing. It was like Mission Impossible. Like it was like I was, you know what I mean? I'm trying to get around the beams. And I'm slowly, because it was an old rickety hall again. And that seems to be their jam when you're doing all this meditation stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm backing out. And
they've booby trapped it so that you can't sneak out without them knowing.
Totally.
They're 4 steps ahead.
Totally. But then I also, because if you think in that moment, you're an adult, and if they'd be like, and stop now. And
You're just...
Oh, g'day guys, sorry. Oh, fuck. And so I did sneak out and no one knew. And then I just started laughing because it was like I'd snuck out of school or something.
Yeah.
It was like, I felt like I had to stay and I didn't.
You must have felt like Danny Ocean. You've gotten away with the heist of the century.
And then I went to the closest pub in Fitzroy, literally bought a bottle of wine and ate a chicken parmesan, which couldn't be further from whatever mindfulness.
Yeah, that's great.
And I'm just smashing this bottle on my own.
What? And she's still there at the thing, or were you like waiting for her to join you when she was done?
Yeah, well, I knew her phone was off, but I assumed she'd flick it back on, especially when I was missing. And so she flicked it back on, and I'd sent her a text going, I'm just here, just come down. And she came down and she had a real, like, what was all that? And what did you, she said, and I said, and I'm laughing. I said, what happened? And she said, they just at one stage were doing it. And then someone goes, the guy's gone. Like, where did he go? And she said she didn't have the balls to go, that's my boyfriend. She just went, where'd
that random guy go?
What
a creep.
Doing? Yeah,
I really am picturing it like the end of Ocean's 11. You're sitting there eating the Palmer while Claire de Lune is playing. You're just in front of a fountain that's just lit up.
Got away with it, didn't I? So at every stage, but mind you, in saying that, we did do a 10-day silent retreat and I stayed the whole time, which I was proud of. And I think a lot of it, because she did one, she was backpacking through India and she stumbled upon this retreat where she went, I wouldn't mind meditation, never done it before, and did 10-day silent retreat. And so she'd never done it before and then pulled out of it. So I think in her mind, all of this stuff, she works like that. Like, you just throw yourself in and you'll be fine.
Yep.
But then at every turn when she tried it with me, I was not fine. And then with this one, I was really reticent to do it. But that was, to be honest, that was the easiest one of all the other options that I spoke about. Those first 3 were heinous and didn't work. This one I found not easy, but I could get through it.
Yeah.
Because you just got to sit there and not say anything and meditate.
It truly speaks to how much you just didn't really want to be on Tinder or anything like that, where you're like going on all these dates that you hate. You're like, just keep going on dates with the same person because it's better than getting back into the swamp, even though I'm being forced to do these experiences that are truly horrible to me.
Well, yeah, you said it. Like she was putting me through the ringer and I was obviously going, like I'm still into you despite all of this shit, which isn't a bad way to work.
I truly do think it's cool when someone early on is like, here's something I'm really into, let's do this, rather than just going like, what about a coffee? You're like, yeah, okay.
I mean, and as I said, I do like all that stuff. I just can't go full whack into it. Like I try to employ those things in my life. I mean, not to throw him under the bus. I did see Hughesy recently and I know he talked about meditation and something. And I said, what meditation do you do? And he just goes, just all the time, mate. Just you got to be present. I was like, that doesn't feel exactly like meditation, if I've got to be honest.
Yeah, that's sort of, I don't know. It's like that's the benefit of meditation, but like I stare at the wall and I go blank.
So, all those things. And I mean, it's funny because I don't know if it's my Geelong upbringing, a weird part of my ego is that even when I talk about it, there's a part of me that's like, Like when I go, to work on your breathing and to know about your breathing patterns and to be present. And as even I'm saying it, I'm like, and be a fucking tool.
You know what? I've been thinking about this a lot, and I'd love to get into this deeper with someone on the show at some point. But like, I feel like...
Hey, I'm here.
Thank you, Dave. No, I'm so like, I feel like our age bracket, we're like right on the cusp where like stuff that like younger people talk about, I can sort of really see the merit in it, and it makes a lot of sense to me. But then we are also kind of old enough that, as you say, like sort of our generation, you feel that like voice in the head being like, shut up. You know what I mean? Like living in those two worlds, like having a foot in both of those worlds where you read about burnout and you're like, I guess I have had periods where I've like kind of pushed myself a little too hard and really noticed the negative effects of it. But then you have that voice creep in that's like, it's called just fucking going to work, cunt. Shut up. You know what I mean? It's like you can't win. You'd rather be that like bit older where you're a Gen Xer where you just like out and out reject all of it. Or if you're 25, you're just allowed to fully buy all the way into it. But being like 38, you kind of have to have a foot in both camps and never quite engage with either side of that mindset?
Mate, yes, I know exactly what you're talking about because all my mates my age, I found them, they've been a lot, we've had to learn how to support each other, like emotionally.
Yeah,
because our dads were usually like, yeah, we're not talking about that then, and just moving on. So you're right. Like if your mate's going through it a bit and for whatever reason, you're like, yeah, man, like, so it sounds really tough, bro. And like it is hard juggling everything. But then it usually, I reckon maybe you should just, I don't know, grow a fucking pair of nuts. And it like
swallow some fucking cement.
And so and then we all laugh because we can't sit in that space. Where like, there's just something about our upbringing that makes us go like, oh, now it's too much.
And then you're in this cycle where you're like, I'm sorry I made that joke. It's just I'm working through a lot of unprocessed, like issues that I've had in my life. And then you start to feel the feeling coming on again. Like, I started rollerblading, and what's the hardest thing about rollerblading is telling your parents you can't. I'm sorry. I know that's it. You're just in this cycle.
Of just eating itself. And you're so right. You'd be like 20 years older. They're just like, you'll be right, mate, and just tap you on the knee and go get another beer.
You just literally never talk about it at all.
And 20 years younger, they'd be like, hey, man, that's really tough for you. I hope you're okay.
Yeah.
I'm always here for you, man. So
my friend who I share an office with here is working on this video project that's for schools, and it's all this stuff about like emotional literacy and just going like, fuck, they teach that in schools now. Like we never had. It's like, yeah, sometimes you feel bad and that sucks. Shut up and get on with it.
Okay.
All right.
I mean, there's some level to that. Sometimes you do just have to push through and get to the other side. But you're so right. Like we have had to learn. I guess this is the world at large, isn't it? We're looking at people younger than us to go, show us the way.
Yeah, totally. Because it's like, what are your options? You outright deny it, and then that's the beginning towards becoming like this fucking right-wing, like, fuckhead. And really, like, anything that, like, challenges your viewpoint and the things that you've always thought, it's like, that's an opportunity to be a better person, like learn something different and not just be a person who thinks and says and does the same stuff for their entire life. That seems horrific to me.
I mean, a good example of this is even just like the small of my back always tightens up. And I think I got it from my dad, who he used to run a cleaning business. And his back would just then lock up, and he's like, this is so bad. And this is a very, that generation of men thing where he's like, well, then I just need to sit down and just continue to sit down and then take myself to bed. And And I don't remember him ever going to a physio. I don't remember him taking any drug. My dad is quoted saying, why would I go to the doctors? He's going to find something wrong with me. It's like, but something is wrong. Like you need to
that's
go.
good. Then you fix it.
Then you fix it. And he's like, nah, my back hurts and you all should not talk to me while I can just sit in my chair and watch TV. Like that's
it's a badge of honor to have your car blow up on the freeway while you're in it. That means you got the absolute maximum out of it that you could. Never take it to the mechanic. That's a sign of weakness. Drive it into the absolute ground.
Yeah. And so then I just learned what stretches I need to do.
Yeah.
And it's kind of yoga adjacent, like you've got that, I need to learn this, and I learned this pose and found out the muscle that it's actually doing, and it seems to be released after I found it. And I know I've got the internet at my disposal. It's like my dad, and I know this sounds dramatic, but it's true. A man of that generation isn't going to go to the library and be like, right, I need to find a book on biology to find out how that...
But I'm the same. I've got that. I don't go to the GP until the absolute, it'll be... And then you have that embarrassing thing where they're like, how long, has it kind of been like this? And I'll be like, maybe a month. And they're like, wow, that's way too long. And then in my head, I'm like, it's actually more like 3 or 4 months. But like a friend of mine, I caught up with him recently and this really stuck with me. He was like, he's got 2 kids and he's like, the slightest, if I feel like anything going wrong, I'm that person who's like, I'm in there immediately. I'd rather be told like, oh, no worries. Like, I just want the peace of mind. I don't want to waste any of my life as I get older with any kind of thing going wrong. Like, I don't want to, I don't want to miss, my kids' events that are coming up as they get older because I've got to have like knee surgery because of something I didn't, a mild little tinge that I didn't look into when I was, 35 or whatever. I was like, man, that is the opposite. I'm so embarrassed when I go to the doctor.
You literally have a third testicle.
Now, what are you gonna do? I'm like apologizing. I'm sorry for wasting your time. There's like blood pooling out of my ear. It's probably nothing. Probably just need some Voltaren. And there you go, folks. Dave Thornton, the wonderful Dave Thornton. We love Dave. Always have the best time hanging out with him. So pumped to finally get him on the show. And I say finally, I mean, I asked him for the first time a week ago and he said yes. Hasn't been that long or arduous of a process, really. But as I said up the top of the show, we are on Patreon. That is where you can support the show. You can get a little bit more Dave Thornton coming down the pipe. There's a bonus episode with him that will be coming out soon. Also, that is the place to go if you want to discuss anything from this episode. I would love to hear if you have any stories like Dave of basically walking out of 3 separate dates that you went on with your partner that you ended up being with long term. That is crazy stuff to me. Happy to hear all of it. Do you have an obsession that you're way too serious about, that you are just constantly re-looking up the same facts about? Basketball for Dave, Nintendo for me. Love to hear it all. Patreon.com/howtodoeverything. You can also send us a message on Instagram at howtodoeverythingpodcast. Thank you for listening. Thank you for supporting the show. Leave a review on your podcast player of choice if you are enjoying it, or let a friend know about the show if you've been liking it so far. Always love getting the feedback. That people have sent the show on to other people. That is going to do us for this week. Thank you for listening, and I will see you next time for more How to Do Everything. Goodbye.